So we are going to be looking at the chakras for the next few weeks. And today we're going to be working with the Sacral Chakra. So this is called Svadhisthana chakra. And I mean, all the chakras are important, but it's quite an interesting one because it's about balance, it's about giving and receiving. And I know many of us with chronic health problems are givers and we find it harder to receive. So it's about this kind of balance of giving and receiving, which is very much reflected in the breath. It's also about being creative, what we can manifest, joy, creativity. It's sometimes said that it's our sexual center because it's about this giving and receiving of the balance of the masculine and feminine energies. And these are very much reflected by the breath. So I'm just going to read you out something from the book Breathe, Rest, Recover before we start, so you get a feeling for what it is that we are doing today. So this chakra is about movement, flow, and creativity. And when we say movement, if you're very tired, don't worry, we're not going to do anything too dynamic. There are all kinds of ways we can work with that. So Svadhisthana chakra relates to the area around the pelvis. So it's kind of between the belly button and the tailbone. So it's around here. So remembering that the chakras run parallel to the spine. It's represented by the element of water. It's considered to be our source of power. It's also about what we manifest in life and how we can innovate something into being. So if we can visualize ideas such as love, light, creativity, kindness, and compassion as we create anything material, then we can nurture and grow this into many forms. So we've suggested this might be something expressed by art or cookery or child rearing, music, movement, or just by how we live. So please now come to a comfortable sitting position. And if you need to lie down, as always, that's fine too. And just take a moment with your eyes closed, if that's comfortable, just to notice how you are. Emotionally, physically, mentally. How is your energy? And just see if you can observe that neutrally without judging it as good or bad. Just allowing it to be. See if you can bring a sense of compassion and acceptance to how you are right in this moment. And see if you can make a kind connection to your body. And ask yourself the question, how am I? What do I need in this moment? And then if you would like, we're going to take our hands to our sacral area, just below the belly button. And we're going to chant the seed mantra for this chakra, which is VAM, V-A-M, VAM. And as always, this is optional. And we'll do this as call and response. So I'm going to breathe in and then chant. And then you breathe in as I chant, and then you chant back to me. But really just feel any vibration in this area. Om, Vam, Vam, Vam. Om, Vam, Vam, Vam. Om, Vam, Vam, Vam. And then with your eyes closed, just drop into the silence. But also see if you can feel any subtle vibration in the sacral area. And if you can't, that's fine too. Just bring your attention to the sacral area. And then when you're ready, you might like to open your eyes. We're going to bring in this sense now of play and creativity just for a moment or two. So just take your arms out to the side, or if you're lying, you might take them in front of you and wave your arms around as if you're moving them slowly through water. And remember that water is the element associated with this chakra. Think of the water as being slightly thick, a bit like syrupy water. So you can just play around with your movements, but don't tire yourself out. You can make shapes, maybe circles, just for a moment or two, resting down at any moment you feel that you need to. And then bring your hands back to your knees. And then we're just going to do our breathing, our breath work, because this is really important. It's the foundation of our yoga, really. So take one hand to the heart, one to the belly. And just observe how your breath is without making any judgment. And then if you can, just allow the breath to slow down, but don't let anything be forced. So keep it gentle. And think about breathing through your nose if you can, and making the breath slow and low. So we're not breathing deeply, we're breathing subtly through the nose. But we're directing it into the hand that's on the belly, with the hand on the heart being relatively still. So just try that for a moment or two. And then take one hand to each shoulder. We're just going to roll our shoulders a few times, because this is the whole area where we tend to hold our tension. And in order to breathe effectively, we need to relax and release the upper body, which helps us breathe lower down. And the breath is all associated with prana, with our energy. And then release the hands. Draw the shoulders up to the ears. And then through the mouth, breathe out, dropping the shoulders. And do that 2 or 3 times more in your own breathing rhythm. And then we're going to hum the breath out 3 to 5 times through pursed lips. So this helps to increase nitric oxide, which has all kinds of benefits to the body. But it also helps us to just get in touch with our own vibration. So you choose whichever pitch and length of hum you want to. And as always, this is optional. So I'm going to do it once or twice with you, but you do it in your own breathing rhythm and your own pitch. So breathe in through the nose. So you do that 3 to 5 times in your own breathing rhythm. And then come back to normal breathing. And if you're sitting, we're just going to slowly rotate around the pelvis. So we're going to make circles with our torso. And if you're lying, you can just visualize this. So as if we're stirring a big pot with our body. This is really good for waking up Svadhisthana chakra, helping it come into balance. And then we can take that in the opposite direction. And then when you're ready, come back to the center. Pause. And then when you're ready, come down to lying in any way that's right for you. So classically, you're on your back, starting with your knees bent, arms away from the body, something under your head to help the back of the neck to lengthen. But if you need to lie on your side or your front, that's equally fine. And of course, you can choose a bed or a sofa if that's more comfortable. And just feel the weight of your body on your supports. And rest your palms now on your belly. And just feel the rise and fall of the hands, slowly and softly. Breathing through the nose if you can. And then very slowly roll your head from one side to the other. Just observing the stretch in the opposite neck. Observing if it's different on one side from the other, but observing this with curiosity rather than judgment. And then let your head come back to the center. And then rest your arms beside you, slightly away from the body. Maybe with the palms turned up if you can, but it's fine to turn them down otherwise. Just focus on releasing and relaxing the body with every exhalation. So just take a moment or two now to focus on the exhalation. And be aware of your back, where you are touching your supports and where there are spaces. And now bring your awareness to your hands. And as you breathe in an orange light up your right arm into the pelvis, into the sacral chakra, visualizing the area that you are bringing energy in on the in-breath. On the exhalation, breathe out down your left arm, letting the breath take away anything that you no longer want to hold on to. Imagine this in-breath as receiving power from the earth, and the exhalation as a sense of giving back to the earth. So feel this balance of the inhalation and the exhalation, giving and receiving. And then releasing the breath, we're just going to do some extremely gentle movement. So if you can, have your knees bent, feet hip width apart, heels coming in to the buttocks. And we're going to think about this pelvic area, and we're going to circle around the pelvis. So I'd like you to imagine that around your pelvis, you have a clock face. So we're just going to practice that first. So imagine that the clock towards the belly is 12 o'clock. And then if you tilt the pelvis away from you towards the knees, that's 6 o'clock. So you might like to just tilt and release the pelvis up and down with the knees. If you're not sure, you can look up at the screen. And then towards the left is 3 o'clock. Come back to center. Towards the right is 9 o'clock. Come back to center. So what we're going to do now is we're going to circle the pelvis and let the knees go with that movement. So we're very, very slowly circling the pelvis. So the knees slightly go to the left as you move round in a circle. And we're going to start by circling around our clock face. And if you like, you can add an extra movement into this. So circle your eyes as well. This might be a bit difficult to coordinate, but just think about your eyes circling with the knees. And why we're doing this is because the eyes are very involved with the stress response. And when we're overactivated, we can get a very fixed stare in our eyes. And when we start to move and roll the eyes in time with our pelvis, this helps to unlock the stress response. And then we're going to move in the opposite direction. So now moving the pelvis anti-clockwise, letting the knees go with that. And if you like, you can move the eyes also in the opposite direction. And if that's too much, just do the movement along the pelvis. And then when you're ready, pause. And then take one knee, then the other over the belly, and just rock out the pelvis from side to side. And then relax back down on your support. You might like to rest in Svadhisthana with the legs out straight, or you can leave them bent if you have any back issues. And just rest the hand on the pelvis, on the Sacral Chakra. And we're going to chant 3 times very quietly to our pelvis. Om Vam Vam Vam. Om Vam Vam Vam. So do this 2 or 3 times, hands on the pelvis, just visualizing the area. And again, you might like to visualize this as your source of power. And then just rest for a few breaths, observing how you are now, allowing the mind to become quiet. Observing the mind, body, breath. Just allowing everything to be as it is without making any judgment. And then when you're ready, roll to one side. And we're going to do a few more movements around our sacral chakra area before we come into our deep rest. So I'm going to invite you to come into a cat posture. And if you have any problems with your knees, you might like to come back to your chair, or you can use padding under your knees like a blanket or a folded towel. So come onto all fours. Have your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. And you might like to take your hands slightly forward and apart if that's too strong on your wrists. And just bring your balance slightly back over your knees to take any pressure from your wrists. Spread your fingers. And as I say, most of these movements you can do from a chair if you've got problems with your knees. But now think about the space between the crown of the head and the tailbone, and just push the tailbone slightly away to lengthen and make space in the spine. And again, we're thinking about this sacral area. So we're just going to circle around the pelvis area. And again, think about making playful movements, this sense of play and creativity. So you might like to make figure of 8 shapes with your pelvis. You might like to make fast or slow movements, big or small movements. Just see how you feel. So this is where it's important that you tune in to your body and what you want, and maybe how your body feels it would like to move right now. So not what other people are doing, not what I'm saying. I'm just making a suggestion. And that also means if you need to rest out, you can. And then come back to neutral cat. And then like we did at the beginning of the class, but just with one hand, we're going to take the left hand and wave it around. Again, having this feeling of moving through water, water being the element of the sacral chakra. Then bring the left palm back to your support and take that to the right. Waving the hand around, just getting some movement into the wrist, the elbow, and the shoulder. Coming back to the mat when you need to. And then we're just going to lift the heart as we breathe in. And as we breathe out, navel comes to spine as we arch the back. So just some classic cat movements. Inhale, lifting the heart on the in-breath. Exhale, navel to spine on the out-breath. So just taking a few movements like that in your own breathing rhythm. And then we're going to rest down in child pose, if that's comfortable for you, using any padding you need. So come to sit back on your heels with the knees wide apart. So I suggest you bring the feet together and have the knees parted. And then use a cushion or a block just to rest your forehead on. And you can use a cushion under your heels. And you might like to rest the hands around toward the toes, or have the hands beside the head. So just work out what feels comfortable for you and rest there for a moment or two. And if this posture isn't right for you, then you can rest on your back because it's not for everybody. And then from this posture, please come to lie on your front. So you might like to rest your forehead on your hands or a blanket. You might like to put a blanket or padding under your pelvis, which can feel really nurturing. Or you can rest with your head to one side, cheek on the floor, and your arms either side of the body. So just work out the position that feels right for your body. Now I'm resting. This might not be right for you. I'm resting with my forehead on the back of my palms, and I've got a folded up blanket under my pelvis because that feels really supportive and nice. But just experiment. Now, yoga is very much about the breath, because the breath is about prana, which is our universal life force energy. And we say that when we have health problems, that's because the energy or the prana is blocked. So a very important part of our practice is working to unblock knots, which might be held physically, emotionally, mentally, which is why yoga is all about letting go. And when we lie on our front, the breath becomes much more free because we can breathe into our back as well. So I'd just like you to visualize the rib cage around the back for a moment or two. And then visualize that you're breathing in white light into your back. So on the in-breath, breathe in white light, direct it into your back. On the out-breath, let go. And then bring your awareness to your belly. And as you breathe in, just feel the belly slightly balloon against your support. So you feel that pressure of the belly on the in-breath. And on the out-breath, let it release. And then bend your knees, come back to normal breathing. And just sway the knees gently from side to side. Gain this sense of movement and play. We can do this with the breath, with mantra, with very gentle movement. And then bring your hands in line with your shoulders, fingertips in line with your shoulders, elbows in, shoulders released. And breathe in and just lift the head and the heart slightly. Keep the back of the neck long and the shoulders relaxed. Exhale and come down. You might like to try that again. It's fine if that was enough for you. Breathing in, coming up very slightly, lifting the heart. Coming out on an out breath. And then just resting and relaxing, observing how you are, how it feels to be on your front, how the breath feels, how the body feels. And then when you are ready, taking your time, please roll. Actually, the easiest way I'll just explain is to bring your hands down, palms down to your waist, and then push on the palms to come up. So you should be back in a cat. And then come back from this position to lie on your back. We're going to go into our deep relaxation. So this morning we're going to work with the element of water. I'm just saying that because I hope everybody's all right with working with water in our yoga nidra, but it's a very pleasant visualization. So please take some time to make yourselves comfortable. I'm going to finish the recording now and then record again. So I'm going to record the yoga nidra separately. But as I do this, please, as always, use eye masks, blankets, cushions, whatever you need so you can be relatively still once we start.